right. Well, guys, I am K.C. and I'm streaming this on Mob Crush. We have Chalupa Batman GG streaming this on Twitch. This is the Vainglory Master Series North America. It is a tournament series that came over from Europe. 32 teams have competed in this tourney so far, and it has boiled down to Nemesis Excrucio and Hammer's Velocity. This tournament has an interesting format. It is blind pick. It is not draft, but you guys will not be able to see the heroes when we go into blind pick because it would give an unfair advantage to the teams if they were watching the stream. Definitely excited for these matches. Velocity and Excrucio are both really strong teams. Looks like everybody is ready to go. And I will hand it off to the casters in a second once we get into blind pick. All right. All right, we are going into blind pick, and I'm going to hand it off to the casters right now.
Thank you very much, K.C. I am here with Tasty Bacon. This is Chalupa Batman, and we are already locked in for game number 1. That was probably the fastest lock-in that I've seen so far. Are you there with me, Tasty? How are you doing?
I am here and I am ready to go. Super excited for this, the finals of the Vainglory Master Series North American Edition. We have on the blue side for game number 1, Hammers Esports Velocity going to be taking on the red side Excrucio. So this is, both of these teams have fought through all the other competition to make it this far. They've survived the gauntlet of having to play numerous different heroes throughout the course of their matches, but this is going to be their largest test yet, as we do see for game number 1 on the side of Hammers. It is a Celeste, Catherine, and Krull going up against a Ringo, Glaive, and Fortress for the side of Excrucio.
Definitely interesting comps coming on both sides. Honestly, the Scarf Krull combination is something that's been very, very popular, and I've actually been thinking that the Celeste Krull composition is very similar, if not better. I actually really like the Celeste just because of that extra stun, as well as her global ultimate. She does have that her ultimate that can launch anywhere on the map, so this is kind of a small variation on that composition. On the other side, a very popular composition recently made popular actually by TSM, I would say. It's going to be the Ringo Glaive Fortress comp, and I expect that to be a double weapon power comp, as we've been seeing.
Yeah, double weapon along with double bone saw is a pretty common composition nowadays. A lot of teams have started running it thanks to its success in the first spring qualifier. So it's something that Hammers, they're very much aware of. They've actually run it, and they've run unique counters to it as well. But of course, obviously, with it being blind pick, you don't have that opportunity to know that's what your opponent is going to try and do, so you don't get the chance to counter it in your hero picks. You have to just try and counter it with what you've ended up with on your side. So it might be a little bit tough for them here with the composition that Hammers have. It's not exactly the most ideal situation for dealing with a double weapon bone saw. However, you see Aloha very early on deciding to say, you know what, it's going to be a little while before they get those bone saws, so until they do, I'm going to have plenty of armor to deal with it.
Absolutely, picking up the double light armor there, but we already have a fight going in. I Love Joseph is going in deep on Dienzio, who doesn't have an escape at this point, and it's going to be Dienzio getting down low, but looks like Excrucio is not going to let up here. They're going to be chasing. Aloha is going to be the target, but it's actually going to be I Love Joseph that gets turned around on. Ezdox is getting very low. He's going to be the first one to go down. Ezdox should be able to take him down. He is going to go down. I Love Joseph and Old School are here on the wrong side of the map, and I Love Joseph is very low, but he might be going for some counter jungling for himself, but this might be a rough position. Dienzio actually gets turned on. It doesn't matter. Krull manages to pick up the kill onto Ringo, and that's going to be 2 easy kills early on in the game for the side of Halcyon Hammers.
Yeah, I love Joseph though, making a really nice heads-up play here, recognizing the fact that they weren't continuing to chase onto him. Maybe assumed or thought that he was going to recall. So instead, he starts taking these back camps, and he successfully steals away the jungle of Hammers. But now he needs to be careful because he is on a collision course to run into Vanes and Aloha, and Vanes finds him with the merciless pursuit.
And there's the stun. I Love Joseph is going to afterburn across the wall. A nice little maneuver there to get out of trouble. But now it's going to be all members of Hammer's Velocity converging on the lane. It's actually going to be Aloha running into the opposite jungle, trying to take some steal from himself. And once again, Glaive is pretty low here. So if a fight does break out, a huge disadvantage for him. The members of Excrucio are waiting in the bush. But Vanes is going to go ahead and face check.
Yeah, it's going to be Vanes just walking into the brush. He does manage to get out of there, and it is buying time for Aloha to try and steal away these camps. But I Love Joseph and Nezadox, they know what's up. They go and try and stop him. But now it's a 3-on-2 in favor of Excrucio. Aloha getting dropped extremely low by this combo, but the healing is coming through. Aloha with a really big spectral smite there to heal himself up. And then Dienzio rotating on down, dropping that core collapse. It didn't matter if it hit anyone or not. It forced them to back away and allowed Aloha to get out to safety. So Hammers making the right moves right now. The gold is still extremely even because both teams have been kind of stealing each other's jungles away. But you know, as it continues to shape up, it does look like Hammers are getting just the slightest of advantages in these trades thus far, and that's why they have that 2-kill advantage.
Absolutely. We don't see too much aggression coming out. We do have these small skirmishes, but if you compare these guys to teams like TSM, not as much aggression coming on early on in the game, but it's kind of expected. We do have a Krull, and Krulls do not want to fight early on. Glaive on the other side, I would expect to want to fight a little bit more, especially against a Krull, but we're not seeing too much aggression coming out of Excrucio here. These guys are just farming up. They're playing the counter jungling game, and it's been pretty exciting on that front. If we take a look at the laners, 45 to 41 CS, pretty good on CS on both parts, especially considering that both laners did have to rotate. But we do have another fight. Dienzio walking through the bush by himself, probably not the best idea. He's going to have to pay for it with his life, and he does go down. And it's actually not going to be over yet because Vanes and Aloha are now in a bad position. This is a 2v3 fight, and Aloha is going to be the focus. He's getting taken down so fast, but Old School is going to be going down first on the other side of the map. Aloha is still alive somehow. He finally goes down. Vanes is going to be the final target, but Ezidox is getting low as well. Vanes manages to pick up one. I Love Joseph is going to keep pushing this, and there's the afterburn. One more swipe should do it, but a great stun from Dienzio locks up I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph has to run, but he might not be able to get out in time. A Solar Storm misses, and I Love Joseph is going to be able to get out. Such a close fight. I really thought that Excrucio had that by a landslide, but Aloha just did such a great job staying alive, managed to pick up Old School, and completely turning around, and ended up a pretty even fight there.
Yeah, the other thing I really liked about what Aloha decided to do there, I thought at first it was going to be a mistake for him to rush in like that as well, but he identified that Old School was the biggest damage threat at the time to him, so he went in and immediately started attacking Old School, getting those weakness stacks up, lowering the damage that Ringo was able to output. And then, of course, once that Spectral Smite comes through, it just completely turns the fight on its head because of how much healing it provides, especially early on, to this Krull. So, because of that, they were able to get the kill onto Old School. And I Love Joseph doing a really nice job to turn it around and almost securing the kill onto Vanes as well, but like you mentioned, an absolutely clutch core collapse from Dienzio to stall that aggression out. And right now, looks like Excrucio, they want to try and make an aggressive play onto the turret, but Hammers are here to answer.
Oh, Dienzio actually used his boots to run into the fight. Not sure that's what you want to do as a Celeste, but he's going to be able to do some damage onto I Love Joseph. Old School managed to survive. The ultimate comes out from Aloha, does not connect with Old School. Ezidox gets stunned up, but he's perfectly fine under his turret. And after all of that nonsense going on, 0 kills on either side. But Halcyon Hammers is a little bit healthier, and they're going to be going for the gold mine. And Ezidox is nearby, though.
Ezidox is going to be looking for a steal here, but he just takes way too much damage. However, he's still hanging around, and now he has the rest of his team there to help. The gold POW is going to go to Aloha. It's so hard to steal away a gold miner from a Kroll with that smite, but now it's Aloha pretty much left to 1v3. He's doing what he can, but it's just simply not enough. And Old School follows DNZ up into a lane. That's an ace gonna go over to Excrucio, so they lose out on the gold miner, but they pick up an ace, and that's gonna be worth quite a bit for them. They're going to get this turret, and I Love Joseph is able to steal away this entire jungle of Hammers Esports once again. So despite the fact that Hammers got the gold mine, that was actually heavily in favor of Excrucio.
Absolutely, the turret itself was worth more than that gold mine, not to mention the 3 kills that they got, the counter jungling that they got, and now they have map presence all over on both sides of the map. Absolutely a great job by Excrucio. Hammer stayed a little bit too long, they got a little bit too low from that gold mine, but they're going to look for a pick on their own. They're waiting in this grass. They do have 2 stuns, they actually have 3 stuns. There's the first one, there's the second one. It's not gonna be, oh, it is gonna be enough damage. The Spectral Smite comes down for that 500 damage for the killing blow, but it's gonna be Ezidox and I Love Joseph in the lane now, but it is a 2v3. I don't think they can make anything happen. They're gonna try to just clear away the lane and keep that turret safe, but Halcyon Hammers, they're just gonna go ahead and rotate down, try to take as much farm as they can.
Yeah, and on the side of Hammers Esports, you see Aloha already hitting level 8, which does mean he has that first overdrive ability. He did put it into the Spectral Smite. That's pretty standard as far as Krulls go, just getting as much damage as possible out of that Smite activation, and as much healing as possible as well. I would expect to see him also overdrive the Dead Man's Rush. It's my preferred build if I'm going with Krull, is to overdrive both abilities and just only put 2 points into the ultimate. However, we do see Excrucio just going in, taking a gold miner. It's a decent gold POW, 131 gold each, so not, you know, the as much as you can get out of it. It was a little under half. However, every little bit of gold helps, especially when you're up against a team the caliber of Hammers Velocity, because we've seen Hammers Velocity, they've been the Hammers Esports organization as a whole have been winning pretty much everything of late. I mean, they, in the first spring qualifier, they finished first and third. Arguably, the only reason they had third was because they had to face each other in the semifinals with Kinetic and Velocity, and so they're putting on looking to put on another strong show here. Obviously, going to be finishing at least second place in the Vainglory Master Series North America. So definitely a team to be reckoned with, but Excrucio, they're showing that they're definitely no slouches either. They are going toe-to-toe with Hammers, and right now, they have the lead.
Absolutely, both of these teams had to fight through 32 teams to get here, so definitely no slouches here. But we are gonna have another fight. Old School might not be the perfect time to use a Hellfire Brew. He's actually gonna use a reflex block to keep himself safe. It's gonna be D'Anzio and Celeste, the first one to go down, but Ringo goes down as well, and now it's gonna be melee versus melee. We have a Kroll versus a Glaive, and Aloha is actually gonna be the first one that does get taken down. Ezidox and I Love Joseph are going deep in on Veins. Veins is getting very, very low. Is he gonna be able to get taken down? And yes, that is an ace for Excrucio, taking down 3 members and losing only 1. They're going to be able to take a turret as well, and a great gold lead for Excrucio, now up almost 4,000 gold there. Such a close fight that got turned around there, and the fact that D'Anzio just went down so quickly in that fight really made the difference, and Excrucio came out with the win there.
Yeah, and you know, it looked like it may have been a bad time to use that Hellfire Brew initially, but a really nice reflex block from Old School, making sure that he doesn't get stunned out of that ultimate, because Veins was on the hunt for him. He was using that Merciless Pursuit, trying to get that stun out to stop the Hellfire Brew coming out, but Old School popping that reflex block allowed the ultimate to go through, and just the massive burst of damage that a Hellfire Brew along with a Glaven Fortress jumping onto a Celeste is going to do, that just takes the D'Anzio out so quickly, isn't even able to respond to it. So a good job there from Excrucio. They do have both of their bone saws completed now as well, which means that armor that is being built up by Aloha and D'Anzio is just going to get shredded straight through by these basic attacks from the weapon power carries on Excrucio's side. They, again, have this advantage. About 4,500 gold in the lead at 13 minutes is definitely a good spot to be in if you are on the side of Excrucio. But Hammers, they're setting up a pick.
Oh, and the Hellfire Brood lands on D'Angelo. Kroll is going deep in on Old School, but a Pauldron lands on him. Not going to be able to be very effective there, and Old School is running for his life. Nobody has gone down yet, and it's actually going to be the first one. D'Angelo is getting very low. D'Angelo does go down. Old School is still alive, kiting his heart out, and it's going to be a clean ace for Nemesis Excrucio. All three members stay alive. They have a huge, massive minion wave with 3 wolves to help out. The wolves finally go down, but they are surely going to be able to get at least another turret here, and I do expect them to set their sights on the gold mine. That gold mine is almost full, and this is going to be even a bigger gold lead. 7,000 gold almost. It's going to be even more once Nemesis Excrucio runs through the jungle, takes all the farm, goes to the gold mine, takes that for themselves, and I mean, there's not much to say. Nemesis Excrucio just has complete control over the entire map now.
Yep, and Hammers, they expect them to be going for this gold mine. They make a beeline to the middle of the map. The problem that Hammers are having right now is they just simply do not have enough damage to take down any of the members from Excrucio. The only real source of damage they have is when Kroll activates his abilities or from D'Angelo Celeste. And if those skill shots, if those Heliogenesis are not hitting and the Supernovas are not connecting, then they're not going to be killing anyone on the side of Excrucio. Instead, they're just going to continue to get picked off, and Aloha, one of the tankiest members of the team, just gets deleted there by Excrucio, and Excrucio are just in complete control right now.
Absolutely. A Pauldron landing right on the Krull as well, just to put some salt on the wound. And it is a 3v2 here. Excrucio are pushing into the turret. They need to be careful. D'Angelo, oh, but D'Angelo does take so much damage. He is not going to go down, but oh, wait, hold that thought. Old School is going in deep. D'Angelo does heal up. D'Angelo stays alive, but that really showed. Old School just dove 2 turrets and almost took out D'Angelo by himself. If those 2 turrets weren't up and there weren't, there wasn't that cover for D'Angelo to run back on, that surely would have been a dead D'Angelo. And just so much damage coming out from a double weapon power comp that I honestly don't know what Halcyon Hammers can do at this point. I think their composition just isn't meant to deal with this. Maybe if they had a second Pauldron on Veins, they do have one on Aloha, but they can't manage to get a Pauldron on more than one member of Excrucio, and they're going to be going for the Kraken here.
Yep, Kraken is available and is over halfway captured already, as Excrucio just has so much damage output. And again, Hammers, they do not have the damage. Everything that they do is crystal power based at the moment. You have the damage that comes out from Catherine's shield is crystal damage. Obviously, D'Angelo is doing all crystal damage, and they find Veins, take him down. But even Aloha, despite Kroll, it's a weapon power tank build, the damage from Spectral Smite is still crystal damage, and so everyone on Excrucio just built shield. You have an Aegis on Old School and a Fountain of Renewal on both Isle of Joseph and Ezidox. The damage just isn't there for Hammers, and they're even, look at this, they're completely ignoring Hammers as they take down these turrets.
The Kraken hasn't even touched anything yet.
Now the crystal is gonna be falling, and Isle of Joseph is still alive, just tanking this damage and without a care. They literally just didn't even have to care about Hammers because they couldn't do enough damage to stop them. And Hammers Esports are going to fall here in game number 1 as Excrucio picks up the victory to go ahead 1-0 in this best of 5 finals.
Masterful performance, I have to say, from Nemesis Excrucio. This composition, something that we've been seeing a lot more now with the double weapon power comp. I'm really excited to see what other interesting comps we're going to be seeing coming out. Let's go ahead and hand it off to our analyst, K.C. Can you break this game down for us in these builds?
Wow, that was an incredible first match out of Excrucio. I know actually they did a Twitter poll to see if people thought that Excrucio would be able to beat Velocity, but they definitely showed that they can do it with this first match. And the double weapon comp that they brought, actually Gangstar Sirius beat Velocity in 2 matches with it. They lost the series in the VGL, but they able to pick up 2 wins with a double weapon. And I do think the comp coming out of Velocity, Celeste had a little, issues dealing with the mobility of the glaive, and Joseph was just doing such a great job after burning in and singling out the enemy team that they just would get shredded by the bone saws like almost immediately. They had nothing, literally had nothing that they could do to counter it at that point in the game. And Excrucio did a fantastic job of just snowballing the game. Yeah, I think it was a great match coming out of Excrucio, and I'm excited to see what they bring in the next match. So I'm ready to move on to the next match if you guys are.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely ready to get underway here for game number 2. And keep in mind, with this being the Vainglory Master Series, these teams cannot pick the heroes that they just played for the rest of the series. You can pick the heroes that your opponents just played. So for Hammers, they still have the option of Glaive and Ringo as well as Fortress available, but they cannot play now going forward. Catherine is unavailable for Veins to play. They cannot use that Celeste, although after that game I'm not really sure if they would have wanted to again anyway, and they also do not have that Kroll available for the rest of this series. So we'll have to see how these teams adapt, knowing that they, not only what they have left available to play, but also what their opponents have left available to play, and see if any strategies come out of that, or if they just play what they're comfortable with. We'll have to see as we are ready in just a second for game number 2. And as soon as both teams let us know that they're ready, then we will be getting underway.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets and see how both of these teams got here. 32 teams is what we started with. Once again, we're just waiting for these players for a second, and we have Nemesis Excrucio and Hammer's Velocity in the finals. Nemesis had to defeat Noble Esports in the last series. Actually, I'm going in the wrong bracket. Arden Axiom and also Vane Vipers. On their way over here. Hammer's Velocity had to go up against Team Solomid, Vanguard, and Nemesis Hydra. So 2 very interesting paths to get to this point. The last series, I was actually pretty impressed by Hammer's Velocity taking out TSM. Nemesis Excrucio managed to take out Noble Esports in dominating fashion. But this is going to be a best of 5 for the finals. I don't think we can call it yet. Nemesis Excrucio definitely had a better showing in that first game, but I do have to say that a lot of it came down to the picks, and I think Hammer's Velocity can really pull it out.
Was very strong for them, and it looks like it was Hammers who did need to take a little pause there. Maybe they're strategizing about what they're going to try to pick next. Definitely brought surprise to us, and I bet to them, so they're definitely looking at their picks. Seems like they're ready, so we'll go into blind pick, and you guys can talk about the picks once we get in the game.
So we are getting into the pick phase now. Of course, as per usual, we are not going to be showing this because we don't want either team to be able to get an unfair advantage if they are watching the stream. So we do have already one team is fully locked in, and we're only waiting on one more, and I'm already excited for this composition to come out. Just waiting for this last pick so we can actually talk about it. And
yes!
There we go. On the side of Hammers, we have an alpha. Our first alpha of the Vainglory Master Series, I believe. At least the first one that I've seen. And I cannot wait. Alpha just received a lot of changes in 1.17 and a lot of changes that were for the better. She is so strong now, and we're going to get to see Aloha running this hero. Dienzio is going to be on the Scarf up in lane, and the Finn Roam for Veins. Meanwhile, on the side of Excrucio, it is a buff feather comp, as we have Adagio for I Love Joseph, Old School playing that black feather, and Ezidox on the Arden. Another very strong comp here for Excrucio. They have definitely done their homework on how to get really strong comps even in the VMS format.
Absolutely. We've been seeing a lot of Glaive buff comps. Not too many Black Feather buff comps coming out. But this, I think, might be the first Black Feather buff comp we've seen coming out of this tournament at least. And if you're a Scarf with no escape, the thing that you do not want to go up against is a buffed up Black Feather running right into you. And that's exactly what's going to be on the other side. I'm really excited to see what we're going to see from this Alpha on Aloha. Expecting that to be a Weapon Power Alpha, as Weapon Power Alpha did receive a buff, a significant buff, so that he is viable now. I mean, I don't have much to say. I haven't played too much Alpha. I haven't seen too much Alpha in solo queue, in tournaments, even in Battle Royale. So we're going to have to see what happens. But Aloha is actually going to be taken down here. It's going to be a 3v1. And unfortunately, the great Alpha experiment might have come to an early end, as Alpha is going to be taken down. An easy kill, kind of a mispositioning by the members of Hammers Esports. And that's going to be the first kill going over to Nemesis Excrucio.
Yeah, the one problem that Alpha does have is that, especially early on, she is extremely easy to kill. So that's good to see Excrucio taking advantage of that fact. But I'm a little bit surprised that with the changes to Alpha, that it is going to be this weapon Alpha. I actually do much prefer Crystal Alpha, but obviously you don't really want to run a double Crystal comp with the Scarf, and you're definitely not going to be seeing a weapon power Scarf anytime soon. So a little disappointed on the composition that Alpha was picked with. However, Weapon Power Alpha is still definitely viable. It's not like it's not a situation like Scarf, where if you go Weapon Power Scarf, you're literally just gimping yourself. Weapon Power Alpha is still very strong. You do a lot of damage with those basic attacks if you can get the core charges built up. But we see Excrucio once again coming in for a strong invade, trying to take down Alpha and just really punish her. Instead, they're going to find Veins on that slow lumbering river troll, able to take him down, and they're gonna now steal away this jungle yet again. And Excrucio, they're off to a phenomenal start here.
Great rotations from Nemesis Excrucio. Really the teamwork showing now. These guys are moving as 3, and when you do move as 3, great things happen. You get the kills, you get the picks, and that's exactly what Nemesis is doing. They know what one thing I do have to point out is both of these games so far, Nemesis has locked in their picks instantly. Right away, no hesitation, no conversation. They locked in right away, so they knew exactly what they were going to play. They knew exactly how to play it, and I have to say, they look very prepared coming into this matchup.
Yeah, and they are definitely showing that preparedness, as Aloha, he's going to get found again by I Love Joseph on this Adagio and dropped down into that infinite reboot. But it is not going to be rebooting. The boot has been stalled, as they are going to pick up another kill. 3-0 now in the first 4 minutes of this match, also equating to a 1,000 gold lead for them, as they've been able to steal away this jungle pretty consistently. We do see Hammers sending Dienzio into the Excrucio jungle to steal away those double back camps, but they're still, even with that, they're not getting enough of an advantage, or even keeping up in gold, because Dienzio got 1 camp, whereas Excrucio is constantly getting 2 or 3 camps for themselves.
And you have to also point out that Aloha is getting starved out completely. The farm is trading slightly, but it's Dienzio and Veins managing to steal the back camps, while Aloha is still getting starved out. This is generally what you see from Krulls. Sometimes you see a Krull getting shut down early on and then just getting snowballed, getting his farm taken over and over again, and this might be the story of Alpha now. Hopefully people can figure out how to, not let Alpha get snowballed, but just as we say that, Nemesis is back, and they are trying to pick off some more kills. They're at least going to be able to take off some farm. Aloha is trying to put some moves on and juking Excrucio. Some question marks come out, and they're going to be chasing after Aloha. I don't expect them to be able to get out here.
Yeah, definitely is not looking very good. He's trying to do what he can, but he's running towards the wrong side of the map. And if he goes up towards the lane, he's going to be finding Old School's Black Feather. He's going to try and meet up with Dienzio, but it looks like Dienzio is just going to be using that chance to recall. Aloha doing what he can to try and dance around, but does get found eventually by Old School, using that Rose offensive over the wall. And once again, Aloha is going to fall. 0-3-0 with only 25 farm to his name. That's definitely not where you want to be. Although, to be fair, he is, just the 25 farm. I Love Joseph doesn't actually have much more, sitting at 26, but I Love Joseph has 2 kills and 2 assists to his name as well. But now we're going to be seeing potentially another fight in the jungle because Excrucio, they're just trying to make a living in the Hammers half of the map.
You know, I was actually... Oh, what? Hold on, I thought we do have a fight breaking out. Nope, these guys are just going to back off. I was going to say, I was actually surprised to see the Rose offensive come out of Old School because I did see Aloha sitting at level 4, so I didn't expect the other team to be at level 6. And Aloha just hit level 5 while Old School hit level 7. I Love Joseph is also level 7, so not only behind in gold, but oh, here's Dienzio gets caught out by Ezidox, was halfway floating up to heaven, gets pulled back down, and he is going to be taken out. And it's going to be Ezidox that picks up that kill. And another kill, 5-0. Just a perfect game so far coming out from the side of Nemesis Excrucio. And Aloha trying to take as much farm as... He's running right to his backs just to make sure that those don't get stolen. But they're not up yet. And it's going to be Excrucio taking this gold mine for themselves. And that's going to be a 206 gold payout for each member. An immense gold payout.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a nice pickup there for Excrucio, and again, just extending this lead. They've, to Hammer's credit, the lead has not grown that much in the past 3 minutes. It is still sitting at around 1,500 gold in their favor for Excrucio. So only about another 500 gold has gone towards them, in addition to what Hammers have gained in the last few minutes. So Hammer's doing it despite all the kills going over to Excrucio, have been able to keep the gold at least relatively close. As we do see Aloha now trying to spend his time in the Excrucio jungle, but he's going to get found here by I Love Joseph.
Oh,
the minion does go over to Aloha, and he's gonna try and fight this, but there's the ultimate being used. Not enough damage though, especially not with that weapon power build. And I Love Joseph just says, oh, well, thank you for the free kill while you're in that reboot status. And it's still just, as much as Hammers are doing a good job of keeping this close, it feels like every little step is going just slightly in favor of Excrucio. Although Old School taking a big chunk of damage on the back, a great force accord pulls him back in. Now we have the Dragon's Breath trying to pick up that kill, but is it going to be enough?
Oh!
No, but the Spitfire connects, and that burning is not quite enough. The healing is there for Old School to stay alive, and somehow he gets out. Meanwhile, there's another fight going on the backside as Aloha is chasing down Ezidox. Everyone is fighting all over the place. Old School goes back in and gets the kill while he falls to Dienzio. Meanwhile, up in the lane, it was Aloha finally getting himself on the board with that kill onto Ezidox. So maybe signs of life coming out of Hammers here.
Absolutely, that was a great fight coming out, and it's really important to point out that Hammer's velocity is not that far behind in gold, and in fact, this is the craziest part right now. Aloha is ahead of I Love Joseph in farm. I Love Joseph picking up some of that lane farm now, but Aloha was actually farming better than I Love Joseph, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that I Love Joseph is running around the map trying to pick off kills over and over again, which isn't a bad thing, but Aloha is basically AFK farming. His only goal is to get as much CS as possible. He says, I don't care what my teammates are doing, I don't care what's happening around the map, I'm just going to focus on farming, and that's really keeping them into the game. 7 kills to 2 kills, especially with Excrucio stealing so much farm, you would expect him to be up 5,000, 6,000 gold, but it's not even 2,000 gold at 10 minutes into the game. Definitely, Hammers is staying in this, Hammers Esports is staying in this game.
Yeah, definitely doing a good job of holding on as best that they can. And again, the gold is definitely heavily in favor, or the kills are heavily in favor of Excrucio. The gold is in their favor as well, now growing their lead up to about 2,000 in over the Hammers Esports. But it's, there's a nice forced accord, but the quibble does not connect. So Old School will be able to get out of this one. And now here's Ezidox trying to make something happen onto Dienzio, but Old School is just too low to continue fighting that one. And I Love Joseph gonna just give him some healing, make sure he stays alive. as they continue to farm it out. Such a close game thus far. Both of these games thus far were really close for the first 10 to 15 minutes or so, before finally in game 1, it was right around the 14 to 15 minute mark that Excrucio really turned it on and took over the game. But this time, Hammer's holding on a bit better, but they really do need to find some team fights going their way soon, or this gold lead is going to continue to grow.
I think that's the first time that Aloha went into the lane. He's actually doing so well in CS, 51 to 58. He's ahead of I Love Joseph. I'm just staring at these numbers over and over again. Aloha just doing such a great job, knows exactly when his camps are up, knows exactly when to go for those, and he's even doing his own counter juggling now. He's sitting on a Sorrow Blade and a Blazing Salvo. He's starting to build up some offensive items, so I think now he feels comfortable. He feels comfortable that he's back in the game, and he wants to join in on his team fights, and we might have exactly that right now. Oh, they
it definitely is going to be a. Oh no, never mind. It looked like it definitely looked like they were going to be going at each other's throats once more. But everyone, cooler heads do prevail, and everyone backs off. A weapon infusion actually picked up by Old School pretty early on here for it. It is a level 11 infusion, so not quite at full effectiveness, but it could still just be that extra oomph needed to be able to win a fight. However, Dienzio actually answered it with a crystal infusion of his own. So we've got 2 infusions going on now, one from each side. But look at this, it's gonna be, oh, nope, the Prime Directive does not connect, and so the fight will not be happening.
Great use of the boots there to get out of that. That would have been a death. He got out of the quibble and from the Prime, is that what it's called? The Prime Directive?
I think that's what it's called. I'm not 100% on it. It sounded right at the time.
I was gonna call it a hook, but
I was really hoping I wasn't gonna get fact checked on it. But
I have no idea what it's called. I can't call it the hook because Finn has a hook.
I'll pull it up right now.
So now we have 2 hooks on the same team. But a lot of gap closers definitely. We do have Scarf, who's supposed to be that damage dealer in the back line. We have Veins trying to pull everybody in with the Forcer Core. We have Aloha diving in with his abilities. So this is a team that wants to engage. You were right. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
It is Prime Directive. Oh, I'm so happy about that.
Oh, Veins is actually getting very low here. I'm surprised how fast he actually went down. We have Old School on an infusion, and he was buffed up by the Adagio as well. So just going down so very fast there. And that is the tank member of Hammers Esports. So this is going to be a gold mine for the side of Excrucio and a free gold mine, 235 gold, nothing that the side of Hammers could do. And if your tank is going down that fast, that's got to make you nervous as a team. That means Dienzio would go down even faster, Aloha would go down even faster, and you really need Veins to keep these guys alive, especially Dienzio, who doesn't have an escape for himself.
Yeah, it definitely is not an ideal situation to be seeing Veins taken down that quickly. Of course, he isn't quite at that full tanky level yet, especially not against the Blackfeather, because he doesn't have any armor, and Veins just gets melted through once again. This side of Excrucio is absolutely ruthless. They are performing so well right now. However, they need to be careful, because this harassment damage from Dienzio's Scarf is still enough to catch someone off and pick them. But for Veins right now, he really needs to start getting some armor, because Blackfeather is just tearing through him in these fights. Now Aloha is going to get so close to dropping, but Dienzio is there to try and save him. The ultimate being used, but it's not actually going to find anything, and now he needs to be careful. Thankfully, he did get underneath the turret, so if they want to try and kill him, they have to take a lot of damage. They aren't able to take down the Alpha quite quick enough. And so he is able to survive and walk away from that one. But again, Veins just on this Finn, it's not looking like a Finn. Finn, everyone always says is so tanky, difficult to take down, always the last one to fall. But Excrucio, they're just going all in on him and taking him down as if he was just any other hero in the game.
Absolutely. Generally, when you have a Finn on the other team, it's so annoying when the Finn is body blocking, standing in the front line, tanking for his team. But Excrucio don't even care. They say, you're a Finn in the front line? Okay, we'll take you down instantly, and then we'll deal with the other guys later. And there's nothing that Vanes can do here. Of course, you did point out he does have no armor. He did pick up a Warhorn now, which is going to be some extra health, but Excrucio is going right after the Kraken. Kraken is going down so very fast. Vanes is here. Is going to be able to steal it? No, the Quibble is not enough. Excrucio does pick it off. They're going to pop the Warhorn. They actually want to go for a fight here, but they need to be careful in this choke point. This is where Scarf is at his happiest. The Force Core lands just on Ezidox. Ezidox is down to half, and the Kraken is going to be knocking down that first turret. And I just realized there are 0 turrets down at 15 minutes into the game, and here comes the Kraken. A lot of poke damage going down. Oh, Scarf is doing a great job with the poke damage. Ezidox gets stunned up, and he's getting very, very low. Alpha's going to be going in onto Old School, and Old School is going in for Scarf. Scarf is down to a sliver. Fountain of Renewal barely keeps him alive, and Dienzio is still alive. He does go down, however, but 2 members of Excrucio go down as well, and there's just going to be 1 Arden here. Not going to be able to do too much. Coming back in to try to poke some damage onto his turret, but that might have been a big mistake. He might actually have to go down for this. He does get stunned up. He is gonna be able to get out a nice little juke there by Ezidox. Managed to help out there, distracting for enough time for the Kraken to take down the second turret. And that is not gonna be 2 turrets down for the side of Excrucio, but a great push coming in. 2 turrets, almost 2 turrets, 1.9 turrets going down for them.
Yeah, and it's definitely, again, the advantage in Excrucio's favor. They are winning these fights, they're winning the pressure game, and they're winning the gold game. They have a 3,000 gold lead over Hammer's Velocity, which is not a position that Hammers are used to being in. They're a team that is, they're used to sweeping their opponents with ease, and not even, usually not even having to put too much effort into games that they play. But right now, Excrucio is absolutely testing the limits of this Velocity squad, and they're coming out on top. The Kraken won't be available for another few minutes, so I would expect both teams just kind of, hang back a bit, do some farming, keep the lane pushed away from their side of their map, and then once that Kraken is back available again, I would expect to see both teams putting a lot of attention on it. Excrucio, though, they have the opportunity to go for something aggressive here just because they have been winning these fights. They do have that buff comp, and it's getting towards the late game where Blackfeather and Adagio, the amount of damage they're going to be putting out is absolutely incredible. The thing that's really surprising to me is there's still almost no armor on the side of Hammers. Aloha is the only one that has bought any form of armor, and he's just sitting on a tier 2 item. So there's really no defense for Old School's Blackfeather, who has been just tearing them apart. And I understand they want to get the shield to deal with the crystal damage from Adagio and the burning and all that, but when Old School is doing as much damage as he is in these fights, I feel like you need to have at least some kind of armor, an Atlas Pauldron. Someone has to have that to try and slow down this Blackfeather, but it just isn't happening, and that's part of the reason why Excrucio has been able to have control in this game.
Absolutely. Vanes is not only does he not have an Atlas Pauldron, but he's nowhere near an Atlas Pauldron. He doesn't even have tier 1 armor yet, and Old School is going for that very aggressive build. He does have a Sorrow Blade and a Tornado Trigger. I mean, Blackfeather's a hero that you want an Atlas Pauldron against anyway, but when he has a Tornado Trigger, it's even more crucial, and Kraken is already up here. Blackfeather's gonna be, there's nothing to deal with him, and we have double infusions coming out from both carries on the side of Excrucio, and they want to be aggressive here. There's the gauntlet. It goes down and catches Aloha. Aloha is getting taken down so very fast, and there's the power of Old School coming in. The ultimate does not land on anybody, and Old School is coming back, and he's going to focus down Aloha, but it's actually going to be Isle of Joseph that goes down first, and Ezidox gets very low, but he's managed to getting around. Oh my gosh, Hammers is actually taking this fight. They are ahead here, and it's going to be Scarf with the burn damage taking down Old School. A great fight for the side of Hammers Velocity, winning the fight even though they were behind on infusions, and they're going to be very, very happy for that. I think Old School just spent too much time trying to take down Aloha, and Aloha has 2 lives. You know, that's not the one you want to be focusing on. He killed Aloha the first time. Aloha had his ability. He was respawning, and the entire time Dienzio was just on the back line doing damage. He does have that Broken Myth and Eve of Harvest completed, and you know, that's what we saw there. An ace, or not an ace, but a win from the side of Hammers. The fight that they really needed, but not too much. Not going to be able to get too much from the backside of that.
Yeah, and honestly, the fact that it was Aloha that got caught in the gauntlet may have been one of the worst things that could have happened there for Excrucio, because they tunnel vision so hard onto Aloha that it's, like you mentioned, they spent so much time trying to take him down that Dienzio and Vanes were able to just output so much damage. The Quibble, you know, people underestimate how much damage Quibble can do, especially with an infusion. It is a pretty massive amount of damage that can come out of the Finn. But we have another fight going on. The Gauntlet is being used, but no one's stuck in it. However, it does have Aloha on the opposite side, but he's just chasing down I Love Joseph, and he gets the kill. I Love Joseph is not able to be there to buff up Old School. Old School doing what he can. He does get the kill onto Dienzio, but it is once again Ezidox, the only remaining member of Excrucio, and Hammers have begun to turn this game around.
What is happening? The entire time we've seen Excrucio in dominating fashion all these fights. Another force or quarter comes in. I don't see Ezidox surviving this, and Ezidox will go down, and Hammers picks up the ace, and they're going to be going for the Kraken. What is going on? Hammers velocity is just coming online, and they are just taking over all of a sudden. What do you think is happening here?
Well, it was that Hammers, while they were behind all game, they were never drastically behind. I think the largest deficit was sitting around like 3,000 or 4,000 gold in favor of Excrucio, and Hammers, they just played patient. Despite that deficit, they've still only lost 1 turret. So Excrucio was never able to get a massive advantage in terms of map pressure or, you know, pace of the game. They were only slightly ahead in gold. They had a pretty solid lead in kills, but a lot of times they weren't able to get anything off of it. And Hammers just bided their time, waited until this Scarf is at a point where Scarf just takes over games. I mean, this happens every time there is a Scarf, it seems. If the game goes too late, the Scarf just completely takes over, and it seems like there's nothing that the enemy team can do. And now with the Kraken pushing in favor of Hammers, we're late enough in the game that any fight could potentially be the last fight of the game because of how long death timers are, and it looks like Hammers want to go for one right now as they push in with this turret.
Old School is going in by himself, and Old School is going to be targeting Dienzio, but Dienzio is sitting on 2 Code of Plates now. He's going to be mowing down I Love Joseph on the backside. Dienzio is getting very low. He is going to be the first one to go down, but Old School is low as well. Aloha going in deep on Old School, managed to take him off, and it's now going to be this Alpha coming online on a rampage, taking everybody out one at a time. Ezidox is going to be the second one to go down. I Love Joseph did manage to port home. I don't know if this is the right decision to chase, but Ezidox does go down. But this means that I Love Joseph will be able to focus down this Kraken, but Kraken is still doing so much damage here. We do have Finn, and we do have Aloha coming in, taking down the first turret. They're going to be focusing down I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph is getting very low. Aloha with the damage. Is it going to be enough? They're going in deep. I Love Joseph with a sliver of health, and he goes down, and this is going to be an ace for the side of Hammers, and this is going to be Old School up, but I don't think it's going to be enough time. Aloha is on a weapon power alpha, and he's doing so much damage, dashes across the Vein Crystal, and he's going to be taking it down. Game number 2 goes over to Hammers Esports. Hammers velocity and amazing play on that alpha. I'm so happy that not only did we see an alpha, but it actually won in a game.
Yeah, that was such a close game. It looked like it was going to be Excrucio pulling ahead and getting enough of an advantage to make this a 2-0 in their favor. But again, Hammers, they held on long enough. They waited for that one mistake, that one bit of over-aggression from Excrucio that happened underneath the turret when they tried to take down Vanes' Alpha, and he had that, the infinite reboot available with the ultimate, and just it allowed him to stay alive just long enough to the point where the Scarf and Turret, along with Finn, were able to combine for enough damage to take out Blackfeather and take out I Love Joseph's Adagio. And from that point on, the Hammers just were able to get the teamfight victories. I Love Joseph was knocked out of fights extremely quickly. Even if he wasn't killed, he was forced to get far enough away that he couldn't heal and buff Old School on that Blackfeather. And just the patience from Hammers to hold out and hold on to the game for that long and eventually be able to pick up the win just shows amazing mental fortitude.
Absolutely. Let's hand it off to our analyst, K.C. K.C. Do you have anything else to add to this game?
There's really not much else to say. I think you guys covered most of it. I do think that the aggression out of I Love Joseph, when they kept on invading, Dienzio or Aloha was rotating to their backs and taking their backs every time. So they were a little bit ahead on gold, but Velocity was doing such a good job of keeping up that they were never really that far behind. And once the late game scaling of Scarf and that weapon alpha came online, like they were definitely struggling. Old School wasn't able to do enough damage to carry it, and just Joseph was getting melted down. I am excited to see what people they play in this next match here. I want to see this go to best of 5. Excited to see what happens next.
Absolutely, and we are gonna jump into game number 3. I think at any second now. Really excited to see what these guys are gonna pull out. We know now that they're not afraid to pull out the alpha. I wonder if we're gonna see some more unconventional picks. Picks like Ozo or, I mean, what heroes do you guys really want to see? I really want to see a weapon powered Jewel. That's like one of my favorite heroes right now for some reason.
Jewel's very fun. The skill I'd like to see I like skill shot heroes. I'd like to see Kestrel. I'd like to see School and Dienzio on Vox. I'd like to see Vox match up in lane mirror comp.
Oh,
that would be beautiful.
That would be.
All right, let me just see if the teams are ready real quick. All right, both teams are ready. We are going to be going into blind pick. You guys will not be able to see it. Teams in the Vainglory Master Series, teams aren't allowed to play heroes that they played in a previous match in a series. So they've already played 2 matches, and they won't be able to play the heroes that they played previously. So let's get into it.
Really excited to see what these guys are going to pull out. Once again, Vainglory Master Series, you cannot repeat the same heroes, and we've been seeing this trend of Excrucio locking in right away. And, actually, Hammer's locking in right away as well. Both of these teams are very, very prepared. They came into this series to win. They came prepared knowing what comps they want to play, and 2 very quick lock-ins from both teams. And we have Hammer's Velocity. We have the Fortress Ringo Glaive comp that we've been seeing over and over again. On the other side, we do have the Celeste Sky and Catherine, which makes me think this is going to be a double crystal comp versus a double weapon comp. What do you think, Tasty?
Well, it definitely does look like it may be a double crystal, especially because of I Love Joseph. Again, as you mentioned, having that crystal bit. You'd expect maybe a weapon power Sky when you see it with the Celeste. However, you don't generally see a weapon power Sky start with a crystal bit in her inventory. So could potentially end up being the double weapon versus double crystal. Again, Hammers, they're the ones that originated this double weapon composition, and it was used to success against them in game number 1. So now they're going to try and show Excrucio how it's run and see if they can pick up a victory with it as well. But we are going to be having our first fight at level 1, all 6 members involved, but it is going to be Vanes, the first one to fall. Dienzio goes down next. Old School and Ezidox are so low, and it's just Aloha though, and in the 1v3, it will be all 3 kills getting picked up by Excrucio.
not only all 3 kills being picked up by Excrucio, but all 3 kills being picked up by this player right here, I Love Joseph. Skye is one of the strongest early game heroes, especially if you can land her forward barrages, especially if you can land her Surrey strikes, and I Love Joseph did exactly that, landing every single one of her abilities, using that passive beautifully to catch up to her enemies, to close that gap, and he managed to take out all 3 members, managed to steal the farm as well. And when you have a 600 gold lead at 1 minute and 50 seconds into the game, you know that you're in a commanding position, you have a big lead, and it's your game to lose from here.
Yeah, definitely. But the early game, as we've seen time and time again, does not always tell the entire story of a match, and so for Hammers, it's far from over. They are going to be able to even up this gold lead in very short times. It's already now down to just a few hundred gold in favor of Excrucio. But that momentum, that's something that you really can't put a value on, is the mental state of a team after being able to get an unofficial ace at within the first minute or 2 of the game.
Absolutely. I actually just flipped these teams in my head. I thought I Love Joseph was going in and stealing the jungle of Hammers, but he was actually taking his own jungle. So not as big of a lead as I thought it was, but still, exactly what you said. It is that momentum coming in, but we do have Hammers with the momentum from the previous game. So it's going to be interesting. Anytime you have a series like this, it's all about that metagame. It's all about that long series and how you can, whoa, a little bit of, that was interesting. Had Catherine kind of stuttering around the map a little bit, but looks like she is going to be safe. If we take a look at the laners, both of them doing a great job. Perfect CS up to this point, but Ezadok is actually waiting in this bush to try to make something happen. He's going to get some poke damage returned to him.
Yeah, but it's not going to be enough to dissuade any attacks. Dienzio having to run around away from Ezadox on this Catherine, but he's still trying to answer back with damage, and he actually comes out, given it was a 2-on-1, came out pretty well in that trade, and now the rest of Hammers are here along with I Love Joseph from Excrucio. So we have everyone on this side of the map except for Aloha, who went to go farm, and it is Excrucio taking advantage of the number games once again, getting their 4th kill of the game now.
A great play there, great teamwork. Old School actually uses boots to try to land the core collapse. Dienzio managed to dodge it, but that means he was in perfect position to get stunned by Azarox. Exactly what happened, and then it just was I Love Joseph mowing him down with that forward barrage. And it really showed how much damage that forward barrage does early on. Doing damage to Vanes as well. Vanes was sitting under that turret and he almost went down. It's going to be 4-0. Aloha walking a little bit too far forward. He's going to take a lot of poke damage. Oh, he's going to actually blast Ezadox backwards, and Ezadox is going to be going down to Dienzio. Dienzio picks up his first kills, and the first kill for Hammers, but a great ultimate to death from above lands on 2 members, takes them both down, and I Love Joseph is going to be going in for Dienzio. Dienzio barely gets alive, but a dominating fight for Excrucio. Managed to take down 2 members and almost taking down Dienzio. They're going to be very happy with that, and I Love Joseph is going to be looking to do some counter jungling himself.
And that's going to be, again, the advantage in favor of Excrucio. Their early game play has been nothing short of phenomenal in these games thus far tonight. And game 3 here is showing to be no different. But of course, in game number 1, it did take a little bit of time for this double weapon comp to really turn online and start taking over. So I think Hammers, they understand that. They know that they have a composition that really relies on getting that 2-item power spike on both of their carries. And so once that does happen, that's when we really need to start paying attention to how the fights are going. But before that point does happen, the advantage will continue to be in Excrucio's court. It's just a matter of if they can take enough of an advantage to get a large enough lead that when Hammers do start to turn it around, they're already too far behind at that point to really get themselves fully back into the game.
And Hammers knows that they have to play it safe. They've picked up shields on every single player already. Vayne's even picking up a kinetic shield to going for that Fountain Renewal first. So Hammers Velocity knows that they might fall behind a little bit during the early game, but they know that as long as they're in the game, as long as they're not behind by too much, they'll be able to come out with this very, very powerful double weapon composition. And that's really going to help them out. On the other side, we have no armor being picked out, so Excrucio wants to go aggressive while Hammers wants to go defensive.
And that is exactly what we're seeing here. Aloha just trying to stall out this lane, but may end up in a bad spot. Does use that the afterburn to try and get out of there, but still takes over half of his health on the retreat. So even though they're playing smartly on the side of Hammers Excrucio, they just look to be one step ahead right now as they again find some damage onto Veins. They're gonna go diving under the turret and pick up the kill. So a 7th kill in 7 minutes for Excrucio is found. However, a very heads-up play once again by Aloha, and this is something that Hammers do all the time, is they take advantage of these situations where all 3 members from Excrucio are up in the lane, so Aloha just sneaks through the jungle and takes away all of these camps in the side of Excrucio, half of the fold. And it ends up with that gold lead not really getting too out of control. Even though the gold miner was just picked up by Excrucio, they still only have about a 2,000 gold lead, which it's a good lead to have for sure, don't get me wrong, but it could be a lot worse if they were up against any team that wasn't as heads up as Hammers is.
Absolutely great counter jungling there. That's really what you want to do to stay in the game, and that's exactly what Hammers is doing. Excrucio have been pretty good about stealing farms, so if Aloha wasn't able to do that, then he would have fallen even further behind. But still, we do have that early gold lead for Excrucio, which means they can be very aggressive. They want to take these fights, and not only is it a gold lead, but it's also a level lead. We have I Love Joseph already sitting at level 9, Aloha at 8, and Dienzio at level 7, so if a fight breaks out, I Love Joseph has his abilities up, and Aloha is actually going to afterburn out. He's going to be able to stay safe. A great ability there to always stay safe. But Dienzio is now going to be the target, and Dienzio is getting targeted down. It is going to be a 2v1 though, but the other members of Excrucio are coming down, and Aloha comes in from the backside. He's going to be going for I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph is in a bad position. The stun does land on Dienzio, and Dienzio is still alive, and all of a sudden this is completely turned around. Aloha is going after Old School. The Hellfire Brew gets blocked by the reflex block, and Old School manages to, no, he doesn't, because Aloha goes back in with the afterburn, and it's going to be 2 members for 0, and Hammers Velocity takes a fight for themselves, managing to do this without losing anybody. And Ezidox is trying to steal farm. Dienzio gets the first one, Dienzio gets the second one, and it's actually going to be Ezidox in a bad position. I think he should be able to get out, but still a great fight going over to Hammers Velocity, and they're going to be able to take a turret as well.
And that's going to be the, maybe the start of the turnaround for Hammers coming out now, is they still don't have the bone saws completed. And you look at Aloha, he actually doesn't even have any, he has the Sorrow Blade now, he did just finish that, but he didn't have the tier 3 items. But Dienzio is getting closer to that bone saw being finished, as he does have the piercing spear as well as the blazing salvo. Blazing Salvo was just grabbed by Aloha as well. So they're getting ever closer to that huge power spike that they're looking for. But at the same time, Excrucio, they really didn't get that massive lead that they were looking for. And with that last fight, that last exchange and the turret being picked up, Hammers actually have the lead in gold. So this is actually, despite the kills being in favor of Excrucio, this is starting to look really good for Hammers Esports.
Absolutely, and Hammers, they don't have the bone saws yet, but at the same time, on the other side, Excrucio don't have any armor. Old School is just picked up a light armor, and Catherine is sitting on a light armor as well, but you don't even need the bone saws at this point. Just the fact that you have flat damage, you're doing so much. Dienzio has picked up his first bone saw. It is going to be able to cut through some of that base armor, but even without that bone saw on Aloha's going to be an absolute monster in these fights, dishing out the damage to the backline of Sky and Celeste.
Looks like there may be another skirmish here in the middle. Dienzio able to stay just out of range of that merciless pursuit, and knowing when to go back in, turns around and gets some solid damage onto the Catherine. And there's going to be the attack of the pack and Hellfire Brew coming out. This is Hammers looking for this fight.
Oh, it lands on I Love Joseph, and Vanes is actually going to be the one that gets taken down very low. He pops the Fountain of Renewal to stay alive, but Aloha is going in deep. Ezedox gets taken down. Dienzio dishing out so much damage from the back line. Oh, the Solar Storm came out and hit all 3 members, taking out 2, and I Love Joseph picking off the 3rd one with his forward barrage. What just happened there? I thought Hammers had such an advantage in that fight, but they were all choked up there, and the abilities came out when you have a Solar Storm and a forward barrage hitting you right in the face at the same time. All of a sudden, your team just disappears off the face of the map, and that's going to be an ace for Excrucio.
Yeah, an ace, a turret, and a gold miner being picked up from Excrucio, and just like that, the gold has swung back in their favor. The forward barrage from I Love Joseph is doing so much damage. The gold mine very nearly getting stolen there, but the decent gold payout does end up in Excrucio's camp, and now Velocity, they're looking like they want another fight. They don't have their abilities back up yet. Meanwhile, the side of Excrucio, they have 2 of their ultimates. So this could be a bad fight if Hammers get too aggressive on it. And it looks like they just wanted to try and steal away those jungle camps and are now backing out of here. But like you said, the Solar Storm with the forward barrage combination is just such a massive chunk of damage being done by this double crystal composition. It's thus far winning out over the double weapon. Again, it hasn't been decisive because this game is still extremely close. 1 turret apiece. Gold is just about 1,000 separating these 2 teams. But the saw blades are completed for Hammers.
Absolutely, but we do have the Broken Myth completed for the side of Excrucio, so it's going to be, again, the double crystal power comp versus the double weapon power comp. Something that we don't see too very often going up against each other head to head, and it's going to come down to who can, it's going to go down to positioning. Aloha does have a lot of shield built up at this point, have his kinetic shield as well as a light shield on top of that, but with the 2 broken myths, that's not going to help out too much. On the side of Dienzio, he's just sitting on 1 light shield. He's going to get melted down if he can get focused down with the forward barrage and the Heliogenesis, but Ringo is a very fast hero. As long as he can avoid those, he should be able to dish out the damage on his own.
Yeah, Vanes is actually looking to get some more defense items. Does have the Fountain of Renewal and Warhorn, but he's the front line for them a lot of the times when they do go in for a fight, because obviously Aloha is going to be trying to charge in, but he has the ability to dash through and dash over, a forward barrage, things like that, whereas Vanes just has to walk straight at the side of Excrucio when they go in. Dienzio is going to be staying back, firing off that Hellfire Brew, and then trying to stutter step on the back lines. But it's really Vanes is the one that takes the brunt of the attack. We saw it there in that last fight that Excrucio won. Was Vanes got taken so low before Dienzio was even able to get into the fight and join Aloha and Vanes after the Hellfire Brew. Vanes was already on his way out at that point. So if that's going to be a problem if Vanes isn't able to stay alive long enough, as another decent gold payout picked up by Excrucio just before the Kraken is going to be unleashed onto the map, as that's going to be a massive objective, because if a team can get Kraken and then win a fight, while both teams do have 4 turrets up, they both have such strong pushing power that the turrets will just get melted through. So this next fight or 2 is going to be so important for determining the outcome of this game.
And it seems like both teams do realize how important that next fight is. Both teams are placing down a lot of flares and a lot of scout traps around this Kraken, and they're kind of doing this dance on the left and right side of this Kraken, trying to catch the other team out of position. They know how important this Kraken is, and the forward barrage from Isle of Joseph is going to do some poke damage, but Dienzio is going to engage with the Hellfire Brew. The attack at the back comes out. They're going to be going in for Isle of Joseph, and Excrucio, they're going to be on the retreat. Ezedox is on the front line trying to take an Old School, gets caught out, and Old School is not going to go down, but Aloha goes in with the afterburn, takes him out. Dienzio somehow manages to survive, takes out Sky. He's going to go down, but it's going to be Ezedox, the last last one left up, and exactly what you were talking about, Tasty Bacon. The ace comes down for Hammers, which means they're going to be going for this Kraken, and this is going to be a scary push. 2 members still up for the side of Hammers. A Kraken is about to go down, and it's going to be completely uncontested. A great fight for them, and a huge swing in this game.
Yeah, they also have those ace buff minions just getting onto the turret now. So that second turret is going to be taken down for sure on this push. And the question is going to be, how much more can they get? Everyone is now respawned, so there will be a fight with this Kraken as it does push in. The turret not quite going to go down just to the minions, but it's pretty much just got, you know, someone from Hammers just has to breathe in its general vicinity, and it's going to fall. So Kraken lumbering her way down the lane, looking to get as much of a push as they can for Hammers. And Vanes, Aloha, and Dienzio, the Hellfire Brew goes out. It does get blocked by Old School, but now they're trying to jump in. Or are they? It's such a careful dance that they're playing right now. But it looks like Hammers, they want to go for this turret at the very least. Death from above is down, but it doesn't really hit anyone. Aloha taking some punishment from that forward barrage and those heliogenesis, as well as, and so that's going to be enough to actually force them back. But they did get 2 turrets off it, but now they have to be careful that they don't get caught here, and that's exactly what Excrucio is looking to do.
And here is the chase. Isle of Joseph is so low on energy that if a, I don't know how much he can do. Ringo does take out Catherine. It actually got turned around. And Aloha going in deep, but he's so very low. Isle of Joseph does get taken out. Oh my gosh, all members of Halcyon, or all members of Hammers Esports is getting so low. Vanes managed to survive with a sliver of health, but that actually could have gone a lot worse. I did expect Hammers to get destroyed there, but it ended up being a 2 for 2. And now my heroes are jumping across walls, and Old School is actually going to chase after Vanes, and Vanes will go down, and that will be an ace for Excrucio, taking out all 3 members.
I absolutely love what Old School did there. It looked like he was going to let Vanes get away, but Old School actually went down to the shop, bought tier 3 boots and a potion. The potion was so important because it gave him enough energy to continue that chase, and then tier 3 boots made him so much faster. He was able to chase down Vanes, make up the ground that he lost by going to the shop, and because of that potion he had the energy to secure that kill and get the that 3rd kill for Excrucio. It wasn't quite enough to get an ace for them, so they aren't going to get those ace buff minions pushing into that turret, but that little extra gold going over is going to help. I mean, they now have infusions on every member except for Ezodox in this game, although Aloha's is about to run out. There's at least 1 infusion on everyone else. I Love Joseph just got his double infusions. Old School didn't quite have enough for a second one, or for a weapon infusion, but he does have that crystal. And now here comes a Hellfire Brew from Dienzio, but that's very likely just going to get blocked. It does indeed, but now here comes the chase from Hammers, and they get a huge stun onto Old School.
No.
Old School is down!
And Ezodox is going to be going down as well, and Isle of Joseph is the only member left. There are 2 wolves chasing after him, but he should be able to get out. But is he going to be able to defend? Oh, the passive ability from Vanes kicks in. Aloha managed to afterburn in. He gets the afterburn on Isle of Joseph. The Achilles shot comes out, and Dienzio is going to pick up the kill onto Isle of Joseph. That's going to be an ace for Hammers Esports. They're going to be going after first turret. They don't care that they have no minions up. The first turret goes down. The second turret goes down. The Vein Crystal is going to be the final target, and that is going to be game number 3 going over to the side of Hammers Velocity. A great fight, and if we look at the goal score, it is 36,000 to 36,000. The game could not have been any closer there.
Yeah, that was such an intense fight. 14 to 13 on kills. As you mentioned, the gold pretty much dead even. But Hammers, they again show that patience. They fell behind early, but they were able to hold off and weather the storm that was Excrucio until they finally got their damage online. And that last pick at the end, absolute hero play by Aloha. The Enzio with that. And the style that they use there, they send out that Hellfire Brew, knowing that it's going to cause Excrucio to back away and use at least one of those reflex blocks that they have, and then immediately the Warhorn is used. Vanes uses that move speed buff or provides that move speed buff to the rest of the team, and they're able to get in there. Aloha knocking Old School back into the team, instantly taking out. He was such a big damage threat that without him being available, they were able to just take down I Love Joseph on that Sky, and finally Ezadox. And it was late enough in the game that they were able to just push in without minions. They had more than enough damage to finish it off.
Absolutely there. Congratulations to Hammers Esports taking game number 3, but it's not over yet. Let's hand it off to K.C. K.C. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. That was an intense match to watch. Very back and forth. I do think Joseph in the early game was just going ham on that Sky, and Old School definitely made plays as well. And their synergy is great together, but Aloha and Dienzio, since the live finals, people have just been talking about them. Their synergy together is fantastic, and Aloha just does such a great job at peeling and catching people out on that glaive that really made the difference in the end. Old School was getting punted back, and he really couldn't do much about it. They would make it seem like they were going to focus on Joseph, and then they would switch focus to Old School, and that would really that caught Excrucio out in the last 2 team fights, really. And just fantastic play out of Dienzio and Aloha. Excited to see this go into the 4th and 5th matches here, or if it does go into the 5th match. But yeah, awesome matches so far.
Well, game number 4 here, Excrucio, all of a sudden, they're up against the ropes. Hammers just needs to win one more game, and they're going to take the series.
Right.
This is the finals of the Vainglory Masters Series North America. And Excrucio, I have to say, they were having such a great showing, dominating first game. They were looking great in the second game as well. Hammers managed to come back at the end, and even the third game, they were having a great showing. It's definitely one of the closest series that we've seen in this tournament so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think they're doing such a good job in the early game. It's just late game. I don't know if it comes down to decision making or team fighting, but they just seem to be slipping in the late game. I mean, the first game they were able to seal it, but these last 2 games here, they've been having trouble keeping up the advantages they pick up early, because they really have been dominating these games for most of the time that we've been on the fold. So it comes down to those last few minutes, really.
Well, I have to put you on the spot then. Who do you think is going to pull it out? Do you think Hammers Esports is going to close it out? Do you think Excrucio can come back?
Oh, I believe in Excrucio, but the way that Hammers has been playing is so methodic. Like, they're just so patient and calculated and they have that experience as champions that I just they're used to playing at this like the high pressure rounds here. So I do think Velocity will take it in the end, but I won't count Excrucio out completely.
You know, for me, it kind of comes down to late game and early game. Hammers Esports seems like they know how to play the late game. They are great at these 3v3 team fights, while Excrucio they're excelling at the early game. They're better at the rotations, they're better at getting picks, and that's kind of the trend that we're seeing here. At Excrucio, they're winning the early game most of the time. That's the last game that we saw. Excrucio actually got a 3-0 exchange. It wasn't an ace, but they picked off 3 kills within the first 2 minutes of the game in the first level 1 exchange.
Yeah, and they're all onto Joseph on that Sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are some impressive plays coming out of him.
I mean, we're gonna jump into game number 4, but game number 4, these teams are really gonna start thinking about. There's gonna be a lot of mind games that come in. So
Right.
they know what heroes the other team cannot play, which means they can kind of guess what they have left in their hero pool. And I'm wondering if they're going to try to do some counter jungling, or if they're going to try to...
I want to see Vox.
I want to see Vox and
I want
Vox.
to see Vox against Vox. Let's make it happen.
All right. Well, I think we're about to jump into the game.
All right. Let's get it started then. All right, guys. We are going into blind pick. You will not be able to see it because that would give teams unfair advantage. Vainglory Master Series does not have draft, but here teams cannot play heroes that they play in previous matches in a series. So teams are very locked in. So we're gonna show the picks.
All right, a quick lock-in, and once again, these teams came prepared, locking in right away, knowing exactly what comp they want to play, and there's the Vox that K-Dot wanted to see. We do have
Yes.
the Arden Adagio Vox, the buff Vox composition coming out from Hammers Esports. I do expect that to be a weapon power Vox. On the other side, we have Scarf, Taka, and Finn, another very powerful composition coming out. It can go either way, but I have to say Dienzio on Vox is one of the scariest heroes on one of the scariest
He's a
players.
monster. Yeah, he's an absolute monster on that box.
Tasty Bacon, who do you think is going to take it?
Well, like you guys said, Dienzio on this Vox this is the hero that he made a name for himself on. This was the hero that was so feared from him at the Winter Championships, and I will finally get to see it again. I haven't seen him play it in a fair bit of time, so I'm really excited to see it. I do like the composition over on the side of Excrucio. They can have that Taka go in and try and assassinate the Adagio early on in a fight. Because if Adagio goes down early, it completely breaks up this buff composition that Hammers are looking to run. Or it can even try and assassinate the Vox as well. But while on paper the composition of Excrucio looks really good still, you can never really the safe money says don't bet against Dienzio's Vox. Like, that's just a simple fact of Vainglory. So
I mean, I think that's a pretty good roll. And it is going to be a weapon power Taka as well, so the assassination attempt is not going to be as powerful as a crystal power Vox. And as a Vox, it's pretty easy to dodge the Spitfires of Scarf, so should be able to stay safe from that as well. Vox is probably one of the best picks coming in against this composition, and Ezdox is going to be hanging out in the lane trying to take up as much CS or as much gold and experience as he can, and Dienzio needs to be careful here. The Quibble does do a lot of damage early on, but he's going to go ahead and sidestep away from that.
Yeah, and that's what you were talking about. The dodging ability of a Vox is really, really strong, especially, with an ability that is so telegraphed, like the Quibble. Dienzio just dances around it. Seeing Ezdox up in this lane, a lot of times when a roamer ends up just kind of camping in the lane, it's usually because they really want to put a focus on the lane, try and keep the enemy laner down, or get their laner ahead. But with a Finn, it's mostly just because Finn is so immobile and Taka is so quick in the jungle that it's actually kind of tough for Finn to keep up with Taka. But we are going to be having a full 3-on-3 fight in the jungle once again.
Oh, both teams are just going to back off here. That actually looked really exciting. I thought something crazy was going to happen, but both teams are going to back off. Oh, just as I say that, Excrucio is going to actually press this, but there's only 2 members of Excrucio here. Taka does join, but he's very, very low. I Love Joseph is going to be going in on Dienzio, and the first one to go down is going to be Dienzio, and if you want to shut somebody down early in the game, it's going to be Dienzio on that box. It's going to mean he's going to miss out on farm, and Excrucio is going to be going through the jungle of Hammers, taking as much farm as they can, and trying to starve out that late game composition that really comes in. Dienzio needs his items to be able to become that monster carry, and if he doesn't have that, and if Excrucio can snowball, they're going to be able to take the game.
Yeah, thankfully for Hammers, a weapon power Vox does actually, really hit its power stride a bit earlier than a Crystal Vox does. You really just need kind of 1.5 items for a weapon power Vox to really be a threat, whereas Crystal Vox definitely needs to have both the alternating current and broken myth completed. So a little bit of an earlier power spike thanks to the itemization, but it's not quite as strong late game. Basically, the Crystal Vox is one of the biggest threats to a team in the late game, whereas the weapon Vox is kind of more in the mid stages of the game is when he can really take over. And don't get me wrong, late game still does an absurd amount of damage, but that's kind of the trade-off you make. You hit your power spike a little bit early, but you don't quite hit as much of a I guess I just completely
Monster
lost the word I wanted
status.
to use. Yeah, you don't quite hit as high of a peak than as the Crystal Vox.
Yeah, I completely
So-
agree with you there. I think, Excrucio is not really thinking let's counter the hero. They're thinking let's counter the player. I think here, Finn is just hanging out in lane this entire time. Taka is rotating up into lane often as well, and that really shows in the CS. 43 on Old School to 30 on Dienzio. This is exactly what they want. They want to starve out Dienzio. If not starve him out completely, at least keep him from getting to that huge farmed up Vox that, that's going to be an absolute monster and destroy the entire team by himself. And they're doing a pretty good job, but even though Dienzio doesn't get all the farm that he needs, he is going to be getting that buff from Aloha, and still going to be a very powerful force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and you also have to look at the fact that while this is happening, they're still having a experience advantage as well on the side of Excrucio, even though they've been essentially sharing the experience in the lane. Old School is level 5 to Dienzio's level 4, so they're doing a good job, like you mentioned, of trying to keep Dienzio down, but at the same time, Old School, it's not just to keep Dienzio down, it's also to try and boost Old School up, because the Scarf is another one of those heroes that takes a long time to really hit its true power stride, as we do actually see in the jungle Aloha getting caught out by I Love Joseph and Ezidox, but on the other side of the map, it is Old School getting caught as well, trying to get his way back into the lane. Dienzio going ahead and picking that one up for himself.
Always dangerous to be trying to face check a bush like that, especially as a Scarf and no escape. That the trap was set and it did go off. Dienzio and Veins were both waiting there, managed to take him out, and that's going to be a return kill, and it does go over to the side of Dienzio again, so even if he did fall behind a little bit in CS, he's catching up now, and he has a kill to himself as well to help out in the gold.
Yeah, he's definitely been catching up, but I Love Joseph, speaking of catches, oh, is he going to actually escape? Dienzio is going to find him and going to take him down. So very close there by I Love Joseph. He really didn't have any other choice but to try and recall in that brush, but it just didn't quite work out for him.
And we do have Old School getting chunked down, and oh my gosh, the damage from Adagio is just so much early on in the game, and Old School is so very low. He's going to be trying to take some CS, but he might actually go down to this minion. He needs to be careful, and he is able to kite it out, but this is going to be gold mine. Hammer's Velocity is going to be going after this gold mine. There's no members of Excrucio. I don't think they know that this is a possibility, and it is going to be a free gold mine, immense gold payout going over to the side of Hammers Esports, and they are now in the lead.
Yeah, it's a very small lead, but still a lead nonetheless of about 500 gold in their favor. But as we've seen from our first few games in this series, having a lead doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the victory, especially when it's such a small lead. But Hammers, they've been the ones that have been looking strong in the late game. So if their early to mid game is stronger and they're able to keep this close or even have a lead through the early to mid game, then as long as their late game plays out the same way it has been, it's a good sign for them. Excrucio obviously going to want to change those fortunes if they can, and they're sticking together very early on. I think this is kind of the biggest difference in play style as the series has evolved, is both teams actually spending a lot more time grouped up, but Old School once again trying to go through that brush into the lane. That's one of the biggest traps to fall for, and he has now gone down to it twice. Just take the long way around. It only takes a couple extra seconds.
Dienzio is actually getting focused down here, and oh, the Force Accord pulls in 2 members, but it actually pulls him into the Taka, and Taka does go down. Ezidox is taking a lot of damage. Dienzio is going to be going after this turret, and the turret does go down. Dienzio is getting low, but he's going to be able to get out of here. I'm not sure if that Force Accord was actually worth it, because it actually pulled in 2 members where, right into a dying I Love Joseph, but the first turret does go down for the side of Hammers Esports. A couple kills on either side as well, but now Old School is here. Dienzio is low on health and completely out of energy. He pops a potion, but he is still not going to be able to fight here. They're just going to go ahead and back off. Aloha is going to try to get the CS for himself, And he succeeds. No, he doesn't. Decides against it and decides just to run, deciding that's a little bit too dangerous there.
Nobody gets that one, as that minion will live to fight another day. As Old School wanting to get back up into the lane, not wanting to miss out on any more farm from the lane. And speaking of that farm, I'm actually gonna have to hold that thought because it looks like Hammers, knowing that this turret isn't there, Old School is still very squishy, doesn't have a whole lot of health, and he is going to be taken down again on that retreat as the Docs drop to about half, but he does get to the safety of that turret. And Hammers, they're starting to really turn on the aggression much earlier than we've seen them do in the first few games.
Absolutely. I've been saying this over and over again, but I truly believe that the most important objective in the game, especially early on, is that first turret. So as soon as you get that first turret, you have so much map control. You can invade the enemy side jungle a little bit safer. The enemy laner cannot farm safely. You can chase if the fight is in your favor. You can retreat to your own turret if the fight is not in your favor. And they're actually going to go ahead and face check this bush. And once again, there's no turret here, so Hammer's velocity has no problem chasing. I Love Joseph is going to go in deep, and now he's inside the fishbowl all by himself. The is going to change his mind. He's going to be going for Old School. Turns back on I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph is getting so very low, but it's actually going to be Aloha that goes down, and oh my gosh, what is happening? It just completely turned around there. Vox goes down as well. I Love Joseph is still alive. Old School doing his basic tracks, trying to take out Veins, and that is going to be a complete turnaround ace, a clean ace, a 3-for-0 for the side of Excrucio. And we've been singing Hammer's praises in these team fights, but Excrucio, they are no slouches. They're going to take the ace, and they're going to push forward.
Yeah, a great fight there from Excrucio. Unfortunately for Hammers, they just weren't able to actually finish anyone off. They got Finn so extremely low. Then they got Taka extremely low. They even got Old School a bit low as well, but just they were not able to finish off any of those kills. And Excrucio able to hold on long enough to turn it around. A really, really big kite-in came out from I Love Joseph. It was like massive range on it that it ended up making him have those invincibility frames as he flipped over onto Dienzio for the kill. So that if that one didn't come through at the exact moment that it did, that whole fight could have been turned around. But Hammers, they're not going to be deterred by this at all. They go and pick themselves up another gold mine, and they go for the exact same play.
They don't even care. They're still confident in these fights, but Dienzio, once again, his damage is going between I Love Joseph and Old School. He can't focus anybody down. Finally, Old School is going to be the focus. Oh, the ultimate from Aloha takes him out, and it's going to be a 3-for-2 now. A 3-man quibble landing on all members of Hammers might be the savior in Ezidox. A great quibble there, keeping the members of Hammers locked down, but Hammers is now running forward, and the members of Excrucio are on the wrong side of the map. This could easily be a turret going down here. And the pings go down saying, kill Dienzio, please. But he's still alive. The second turret will go down. They're going to go ahead and back off. I Love Joseph is looking for the chase. The Force Accord does not land. And Hammers should be able to get out here safe. Happy with those kills and happy with that turret.
Yeah, they are able to pick up that second turret of the game. So more map pressure going to be able to be applied. But the game is still so close as, Aloha gets found by I Love Joseph. But with enough healing, he is able to survive a great 2-man quibble. But Ezidox is now the one getting dropped very low. A beautiful gauntlet in order to keep Excrucio away from those carries of Hammers. And they're able to stay safe underneath those turrets. An absolutely clutch gauntlet coming out from Veins to save that fight from being a disaster situation for Hammer's velocity. Meanwhile, Excrucio, they're just looking to get what they can. These scout traps, one of them is still there for Hammer, so they will still have that vision around the gold miner, at least for now. They do move their way on down. Looking at the item builds, we see it is going to be pretty much standard for just about everyone. I don't really see anything that jumps out at me as being too out of the ordinary. War horns for both roamers, Fountain of Renewal, Taka getting himself a little bit of damage, but really prioritizing the defense and that Atlas Pauldron to The whole theory behind it is to go invisible with that Kaku and then pop the Atlas Pauldron onto Dienzio before they even know that he's around. But there's going to be a big fight engaged by Hammers.
And a 3-man silence lands from Dienzio, and the damage is coming out, but Dienzio is actually getting very, very low. He's getting focused down by all 3 members, and Dienzio somehow is still alive, kiting his heart out. He does not manage to take out I Love Joseph. Aloha is the only member left, and Excrucio, all of a sudden, they are really, really the monsters in this game. They are going to take another clean ace. And I don't even think any member of Excrucio really got very low in that fight. They're going to be taking the gold mine. They're going to be taking their first turret. And a massive fight. They're Hammer's Velocity. They're the ones that are engaging all the fights. They're the ones that are confident. They're the ones that are popping the war horns. But somehow, Excrucio, they're the ones that are winning the fights.
Yeah, that one was actually largely because of the fact that Aloha got split up from Dienzio and Veins. Aloha was on the top side of that wall in the jungle, whereas his 2 teammates went to the bottom side. And that's the problem with the biggest downside of running an Adagio comp is if Adagio is not with the team, he might be getting caught out here. The Polite Company doesn't pull him in, but he's still in a very bad position. Trying to 1v3, he's just going to get melted by that Scarf and Taka. And this could be a really big advantage now for Excrucio. Kraken is available, and with a 3-on-2, I would not be surprised if they go for it.
Vox isn't exactly the best Kraken stealer here with a very short range and not too much burst damage. The members of Hammers might still be trying to go for it. We might have a hero play going on, but very, very dangerous. If they do lose the Kraken and do go down, that's going to be a huge, huge push for the Kraken. They're just going to go ahead and back off while it's going to be Excrucio taking that Kraken for free. And all of a sudden, we have Excrucio. The gold is still pretty close, but Excrucio has been winning the team fights. They have the momentum, 2 clean aces in a row, and now they have the Kraken on their side, a 4v3, running down the lane, trying to knock down some more turrets here. I have to say, Hammers is in a bad position.
Yeah, especially with a Finn. Finn is so good at pushing with the Kraken because obviously every team wants to try and defend their turrets, but Finn can just pull you right out. The gauntlet goes in from Hammers though, and the fight is on.
And here we go. So Kraken is untouched, which means he's going to be knocking down the turret. Dienzio once again gets focused down, and he is going to be the first one to go down. The turret is still going down. Aloha getting very, very low, and it's going to be Veins that goes down, and this might be another clean ace. Aloha managed to get the pick off on I Love Joseph, but the quibble comes down from Ezidox. Old School is so low, but the punches and the kicks and the slaps from Ezidox come in, and that is going to be another ace. 1 for 3 for Excrucio, and they are pushing down. Dienzio is up. We are only 17 minutes into the game, but the Kraken is still very, very healthy here, and Old School and Ezidox are healthy as well as they healed up from that ace buff.
The damage coming up from Dienzio is pretty solid, but the Kraken is still very healthy as well. Old School is going to be staying alive just a little bit longer with that reflex block, but not long enough. However, Aloha is now back up, and they're trying to take down. They get the kill to Ezidox. It's just the Kraken left. The Kraken is working on that turret. It should be able to get that turret. It does take out the last turret before they are able to take down Kraken, but there is now only the crystal left for Excrucio to take out. This becomes so precarious for the side of Hammers. They have to worry about, you could potentially have Taka using that Kaku to try and sneak his way into the base and backdoor that crystal, which is why we do see scout traps getting put down on pretty much every possible entrance so that they will have that advance warning if Taka does attempt to make this play. But this is such a close game, such a close series. Excrucio are on the verge of pushing us to a Game 5.
I wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats, with nightmares of Taka backdooring my Vein Crystal. But if someone's gonna backdoor the Vein Crystal, that's the one that you want to, that you want to do it. But I don't think Excrucio is gonna be going for that. They still have 3 turrets up. They're in such a good position here that even if they lose the next team fight, that's probably not going to be the game, so they kind of have like a freebie on them, and this is going to be the team fight, and the gauntlet does not go down. It gets canceled by the Quibble, and Old School is still healthy on the back line. Dienzio is finally not getting focused down, but the ultimate comes out, and Dienzio will go down again. Dienzio has not been able to be a factor in these fights, and Aloha is going to go down as well. Excrucio, they don't even care about the third kill. They're going to be going right after the Vein Crystal. This is going to be a 3 against 1, but the 1 is going to be Veins on an Arden Roam, and this surely will be game number 4 going over to the side of Excrucio. That's going to be an ace. Veins does go down. 3 members are here. 40 closing screen, and game number 4 goes over to Nemesis Excrucio. A great play all around, and we are all tied up. Exactly what we wanted going into game number 5 for the Vainglory Master Series Finals.
I just have to say, you know, it's typical that we talk about how Hammers have been falling behind early game and then turning it around and winning the late game. And in game number 4 here, with their tournament lives on the line, Excrucio fell behind early game and then turned it around and ended up winning the late game. So the exact opposite of what we've been praising these teams for ends up happening. But I'm so excited to have a Game 5. These hero pools are really getting stretched thin. I don't think we've had a Game 5 in Vainglory Master Series yet. So each team has, you know, 4 games worth of heroes that they cannot play. 12 heroes from the Vainglory roster on each side are now unavailable to be played. So who knows? We may see some really crazy picks come out for game number 5. All I know is I am extremely excited for it.
I mean, I hope the admins have been keeping track of what heroes have been played, because I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure Legend is keeping track of that for us.
Thank God.
But I mean, that was it kind of flipped from the other games, exactly as Tasty was saying. I do think that Velocity kept on engaging. They kept on engaging onto Excrucio, even though they actually started to fall behind in gold. They would still try to first engage, and then they kept losing team fights, and that basically threw the game for them, where that Scarf was able to get enough damage, and Taco was able to get fed enough that it really, they were able to burst down Aloha, who was actually getting caught out a lot, unfortunately, for Velocity, and he wasn't really able to do the damage that he should have been doing. And Ezidox was doing a fantastic job with his Quibbles on Finn. Just fantastic play out of Excrucio, and I'm very excited to get into this 5th match here.
Absolutely, we do have the
finals.
Yeah, it is the finals, and we do have the list coming out. Hammers Esports. So once again, Hammers Esports cannot play Celeste, Catherine, Kroll, Alpha, Scarf, Finn, Glaive, Ringo, Fortress, Fox, Adagio, or Arden. That entire list. Now, these are very popular heroes. These are heroes that everybody likes to play. Cannot be played. Nemesis Excrucio cannot play Fortress, Glaive, Ringo, Arden, Adagio, Blackfeather, Celeste, Sky, Catherine, Taka, Finn, or Scarf. Whew, I need to take a breath after that list.
Now, and just to add even more onto this, and for how deep these players are going into these hero pools, there are 23 heroes currently in Vainglory.
Oh no.
At the end of this match, each of these teams will have played 15 different heroes. That is over 65%.
We did the math.
Of the heroes in the game are being played. That is an insane 2/3 of the entire Vainglory roster. And that's for each team. Each individual team in this final is playing over pretty much 2/3 of the Vainglory roster in this finals. So that's how deep these hero pools are going.
I'm really excited. I have to do this. I'm sorry. Let's go down the line. Who do you think is going to take the series, the game, and the entire tournament?
Man, making a prediction here, I feel like I'm always going to be wrong. Excrucio played so strong in the last match, and I was saying that they're having issues with the late game, and then they just went and proved me wrong. So I'm really not sure. I mean, I guess the safe pick would be Velocity, since they have sort of the experience with these sort of in like getting down to the bone sort of matches. But I don't know. I really can't decide on this one.
Oh, that's such a cop out. Come on.
I'm gonna go with Excrucio.
Excrucio. Ooh. What do you think, Tasty?
I'm in the same boat. Like, it's so hard to guess, especially because both of these teams, you know, you look at the roam position. That's where I want to put a spotlight on for this game. Both teams have used Fortress, Glaive, Adagio, Finn, Arden, and Catherine. Those are like all of the heroes that you ever see being a support on a regular basis. So we're going to have, you know, someone's going to have to pull out like, you know, maybe a pedal, maybe a saw port. You know, we have, this pool is just being stretched so thin for Game 5. I think I almost want to reserve judgment until we see what the compositions are going to be. Both teams do have Rhyme available.
Oh.
And so that's one that I definitely expect to see Rhyme come up, as we actually have the players in the in-game chat wondering where's Lyra and Lance when you need them, as these roam pools are being stretched so thin. But we do actually, there is the potential for Hammers to run a roam Taka. What's going to be in that roam position? You could have a roam Krull on the side of Excrucio. But I definitely expect to see Rhyme. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see both teams run Rhyme. Excrucio also still has the Vox available. So I like the heroes that are left for Excrucio a bit better. But at the same time, Hammers Esports is an organization that is known for picking very strange compositions and making them work. Like, they know how to make these things that are completely off meta work really well. But usually it's in counter pick situations. But they are still a team that has at least experience with running off meta composition. So I think that experience is going to give them the edge here in Game 5.
Well, I am so very excited for Game 5. I'm excited to see what these guys are going to pick. Let's jump right into it. This is going to be...
Whoa.
I try to get out of it.
You made both of us.
I try to get out of it.
Both of us give our prediction. No, you're not getting out of it that easily. We've still got plenty of time while these teams.
Hey, you guys didn't give me your predictions. You guys gave me very roundabout ways of
said Hammers. I said I think Hammers. And he said Excrucio. We did give answers.
I'll give a short answer. Because of momentum, I'll give it to Excrucio.
Okay.
We're about to find out, though. I mean, this is the final game. This is game number 5. This is whoever wins this game is going to take the entire tournament. This is the finals. Game number 5 of the finals of Vainglory Master Series. The first Vainglory Master Series in North America. And all of a sudden, we already have our picks locked in. One more traditional comp and one funky comp. And here we go. Tasty Bacon, do you want to introduce us to these teams?
They're both a little bit funky because of the fact that all of the main roamers are off the board, but we are going to be seeing for Hammers Esports Velocity on the blue side. It will be DNZO on the black feather, Veins running the Roam Taka, and Aloha on the sky. Meanwhile, for Excrucio, it will be Old School with the Vox, the Kestrel for I Love Joseph, and a Roam Jewel for Ezidox. This is going to be an exciting one.
I mean, immediately I have to say, except for the fact that first of all, it is a Roam Taka. But aside from the fact that it's a Roam Taka, this is a Skyfeather composition, which is a pretty powerful and pretty standard composition. On the other side, the Vox Kestrel Jewel composition. I don't know the last time I saw that was when I was playing against bots. So, you know, I'll just say that. First of all, we haven't seen Jewel a lot at all. We've never seen Jewel in the roam position. And Kestrel is another hero that, even though we've seen her, isn't someone that we see too much, but still a very, very powerful composition.
Yeah, the potential for a huge AoE stun if, you know, the enemy team ends up walking onto one of those active camo fields and a Rocket Leap jumps in on top of it, it's going to be absolutely devastating. But that's going to be so hard to coordinate if you are the side of Excrucio. I think a lot of what they're going to be looking to do is just poke with the Kestrel, and then when there is an all-in, you'll have the Vox to try and deal with those fights. But right now in the lane, it's a 2-on-2, and it looks like Hammers are winning it, but Dienzio is getting dropped very low. However, Vanes will be the one getting the first kill, but he takes a turn shot for it. Will that be his life? It will. And now Enzidox trying to answer Dienzio, but the minions take that one, and Dienzio gets out alive by the skin of his teeth.
I was screaming out for one more Thunderstrike, but the minions OP at level 1, level 2. The minions do a lot of damage, and the minions were able to get the kill on Enzidox, finishing him off, but still a very close fight. Hammers did manage to get the slight edge there, 2-1. But I was pretty impressed all around. Now, I'm wondering, do you think these roams are going to build traditional roam paths? Like, do you expect them to build a fountain, the crucible, all that, or, you know, do they go for that troll build?
I expect a fountain and, you know, a war horn from each side, from each roamer, but I also do expect, oh my goodness, Dienzio gets the assassination onto Old School. I also do expect to see some damage items come out from each of them as well. Taka, of course, we've seen, you know, Taka used to be, Tank Taka was like the thing to do. So Taka is perfectly fine with tank build. Jewel is another one that, you know, is okay with going tank, but I absolutely expect to see at least a little bit of damage from each of them just to add some utility into these team fights.
You know, there's no protection for against Dienzio, actually. Oh, Enzidox is actually going to focus on, he's going to jump over the wall to safety, but there's no protection against Dienzio. I Love Joseph and Old School, they both have sort of escapes. The Old School does have his dash away, and I Love Joseph has his active camo, but it's not going to be the best escapes to get away from this Dienzio, especially if he's already attacking you. You can't land that, or you can't activate that active camo. Generally, you'll have someone like an Arden with the Vanguard, you'll have someone like a Finn for fortified health. That's kind of the point of support heroes, is to help initiate and to protect your teammates, right? But, well, you know, as a Jewel, like, what do you do?
Kestrel is the thing about Kestrel, obviously Jewel has the rocket leap to get away, you know, as long as she doesn't get stunned, which there aren't, the only stun is the death from above, so should be fine with that. But Kestrel is actually a surprisingly strong counter to a Blackfeather if your reactions are quick enough, because if you see a Blackfeather going to use his Rose offensive, you can pop the active camo before you take damage from it, and Blackfeather will typically end up exactly in the middle of your active camo field.
That's a good point.
And you can then fire off the stun once he's no longer invulnerable. So it's actually a really strong counter if you have those really quick reflexes. But we're talking about top players in all of Vainglory, so of course I Love Joseph is going to have those reflexes. It's just a matter of, you know, if it can be pulled off in this game or not. It's really fun to watch. It's something that I actually learned from a couple of the teams in Europe when I was over in London. So they were the ones that were first telling me about it and how effective it actually is. But we do see I Love Joseph actually going to be chasing and hunting down that Taka and picking up the kill. Meanwhile, up in the lane, it is going to be Sky getting the kill on to Old School, but Dienzio is so low, he needs to be careful. He's trying to get that shield, but he doesn't get it. The Thunderstrike misses as well. Dienzio and Enzidox are so in tense. A massive fight, but there's going to be a great knockback with that Thunderstrike. So close to falling, but in the end, it is going to be I Love Joseph picking up that kill as well. I Love Joseph having himself a really nice start on this Kestrel.
Dienzio has absolutely no fear here. He doesn't care that he's at a sliver of health. He just wants to go in. But I Love Joseph is actually going to be caught out here. Aloha and Vanes are both going to go in and just mowing him down. Aloha picks up that kill, and we have 5-3 on the board. Less than 1,000 gold between these two teams. And just as we expected out of a game number 5, even though we have unconventional compositions, this is going to be a very close game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole series has been so close. That's why we're in Game 5, because these teams are just neck and neck with each other here tonight. And Aloha going to be trying to steal away that camp. He does take it successfully, but now he's in a bit of a risky situation. But the rest of Hammers are here to help. The rocket leap over the wall from Ezodox to get to safety. Meanwhile, I Love Joseph just going to try and throw some glimmer shots to deter the invasion. But Aloha, he is going to stay strong, and he does steal away at least one of those camps. Meanwhile, oh, I didn't even see in the lane, Dienzio picking up another kill for himself as well. 3-1-2 now on this Black Feather. That's going to be a big problem for Excrucio as this game goes later and later.
I mean, again, Old School just has no protection. You have a Taka and a Black Feather diving in on you. You don't have any Vanguards, any shields, any fortified health. You know, nothing to kind of help keep you alive while two assassins are going right after you. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The immense gold payout goes over to the side of Hammers, and as soon as they pick off Old School, they just have complete control over this map. And I honestly don't know how Old School is going to survive these fights.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, and especially early on. He does have the alternating current, so one step of the way towards that big Vox power spike. But like you said, you don't have that peel available that you would have with, you know, one of the typical roamers, because they're typical roamers. All of them were unavailable for this game. So Jewel, you know, does have that stun and displacement, but it's on such a long delay. You have to be so proactive with it, and if you try and make that anticipatory play, and Hammers don't go in with it, then all of a sudden your only peel essentially is now just gone for 8 to 10 seconds. So it's such a difficult style to play, but I mean, you look over on the side of Hammers, they have literally no peel other than the Death from Above. That's the only peel and zoning tool that they can have in at their disposal. But Vane's using that Kaku, trying to get up onto Old School, and Taka, even though it's the Roam Taka building the Fountain of Renewal, still able to put out some serious damage with that Chitin. And now it's I Love Joseph once again just getting collapsed on. And despite the turret, Dienzio just gonna use that Rose Defense. He used it a little bit early, actually. He could have actually, dodged and avoided that last turret shot, but still gets out of range. And this will be the first turret going down pretty early in the game, just before 9 minutes. And Hammers pick that one up and extend this gold lead now up to about 4,000 gold in their favor. They're looking really strong here in the early game, and this is a composition. The Sky Feather we've talked about, it's a standard composition as far as the two carries are concerned. Sky is able to really dominate the early to mid game, and then Black Feather is just such a strong late game hero that it complements each other extremely well, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
I mean, the longer this game goes, I think Hammer's velocity is just going to snowball this game. They're so confident in these fights. They're going to pop a Warhorn. They don't even have all three members here, but they're going to just go right in. And once again, Old School and I Love Joseph have no protection. The Rose offensive completely blocks the only stun available. Oh, the second stun goes off, though. Just as I say, there's only one stun, but it's not going to be enough. I Love Joseph goes down. Ezodox is pretty tanky, so he's going to be able to stay alive. But once again, I Love Joseph and Old School, they're just getting focused down. Vanes and Dienzio are just diving right in, and you did point out that Hammers don't have any peel, but I don't think they want any peel. They just want to fight the entire time. They're going to be going on the aggressive, and it's going to be up to Excrucio to kite backwards to get the only peel from Ezodox, which, now, if you're playing a Jewel and you're trying to land a stun, probably the three hardest heroes to land it on are Black Feather, Taka, and Sky, and, it hasn't really been able to do much, and Ezodox is actually going to go down as well. And Hammer's velocity just snowballing with this lead.
Yeah, they're just doing such a good job. And again, not having any peel, no problem for them. They've shown in previous games in this series that they just want to be going aggressive all the time. And that's, this composition plays perfectly into that style. They have the Warhorn completed as well from Vanes, so they're all in heavy, rush down the enemies. That's going to be working perfectly for them. Kaku with the with the Warhorn buff, and then of course Blackfeather. Blackfeather is one of the ones who if there's any hero that doesn't need any extra movement speed, it's the Blackfeather. But it's there available to him, and that's why they're able to get onto Old School and get onto I Love Joseph so consistently, is because they have all these different, so much mobility on this team. You know, Sky, Blackfeather, and Taka are three of the most mobile heroes in the game, and they're able to just consistently dive this backline of Excrucio, and Esodox has just really been a non-factor when it comes to the team fights.
Absolutely, and this entire game is basically happening on the right side of the map. Hammer's Velocity has no reason to go back into their own jungle. They're just taking all of the jungle of Excrucio and completely starving them out and choking them out as well. Excrucio, they're just all clumped up by this turret. You know, they're like huddling around a fire, you know, and the world is so cold with Hammer's Velocity going around and killing everybody. And you know, they're being surrounded now. Even though the turret is up, Hammer's Velocity looks like they want to go aggressive, and that's exactly what they're going to be doing. A Warhorn does get popped. Old School is going to be the target. Veins goes right in. I Love Joseph is going to go down. The Enzio is going to be able to get out. The Founder Renewal was popped. Old School is going to go down as well, and the entire time all members of Hammer's Velocity were eating up turret shots, but no member went down, and they're going to be going for this turret, and the second turret will go down any second now. And the fact that Hammer's Velocity, and this is only 12 minutes into the game, these guys aren't full builds, they're not super tanky, they don't have all their items. They just dove right into a full health turret, completely ignored a turret, 8 turret shots for about 30 seconds straight, almost got an ace, and all walked out with their lives. It really shows how far ahead Hammers are.
Yeah, and the fact that they were able to just stay under that turret for so long is really impressive. They were juggling the turret aggro and saving that Fountain of Renewal until the last possible moment. Veins is honestly, in my opinion, one of the most underrated roamers in the game. You know, everyone talks about, obviously, Gabe Bizzle when he was on Gangstars, Flash X makes so many plays, Lost Boy Toph. Veins has been one of the most consistent roamers in the game for quite some time now. He's just always able to be on point, knows the game so well, and just has such a knack for when to use activated items. It's really impressive to watch, and that's exactly what we just saw there in that last fight underneath the turret. And again, Hammer's just having a massive lead now. The gold lead is up at 9,000 gold, 13 and a half minutes in. They have a 10 kill advantage as well. The 2 turrets down. Everything seems to be going in Hammer's favor at this point in time, as they're, again, just continuing to look for these fights. They've already proven that they don't care about these turrets. They could go for a fight at any second.
And Old School is getting very, very low. He's going to be able to go back home. Finally, Excrucio, they're nearby their home so they can heal up, but Hammers is just going to go ahead and focus down this turret. If Excrucio wants to fight, I'm sure the Hammers would be more than happy to do so. They want to take down this turret first this time. The turret does go down, and we're going to have a fight here. Veins is actually getting low, but he doesn't care. He's still going in. The Enzio is trying to take down I Love Joseph. I Love Joseph is invisible, does get that active camo off, but Aloha with that forward barrage manages to pick him off. Only 1 kill going over to the side of Hammers, but Hammers wants to keep pushing this. They know how far ahead they are, and they're feeling very, very confident on their heroes, and this is going to be another turret going down. Just absolutely no fear coming out of them. 1 turret left against 5 turrets left. I don't think there's any way that Excrucio can come back from this.
Yeah, this is definitely looking to be a game going in favor of Hammers. Only 1 turret left to defend. It's so hard to try and turtle and, you know, play that long defensive game from this point, especially against something like a Blackfeather and a Sky. You add in a Taka to the mix, and it's just a nightmare. And Hammers, if they win a fight here, this could very well be the game. They do get Esodox isolated and pick up that kill. We've already seen them have no problems pushing in for a turret in a 2v3 situation, but it does look like they're going to go the safe route this time and start up the Kraken.
And the Kraken will be focused down from by Hammer's Velocity, and it will be going down any second now. That went down so fast, the snipe does not come in on time, and I don't even think they needed the Kraken, but just being perfectly safe with the Kraken up, 1 turret left, and Hammer's up by 11,000 gold. I think we're about to see the finishing push right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Double infusions on all 3 members of Hammers. The only member of Excrucio to get 2 infusions is Old School. Ezadoc's not even able to pick up a single one, unfortunately. And here comes the fight. Old School is just completely isolated out there, and he is going to fall. The chase onto I Love Joseph. He's trying to get back into his base. He will just barely get there, but now the Kraken is there. The Kraken doesn't even get to swing at the turret, so it's a full health Kraken on the crystal, and Hammer's Velocity are going to take it. They win the game, they win the series 3-2, and are your Vainglory Masters Series North American champions.
A great showing by both teams. Congratulations to Nemesis Excrucio for taking second place, but it is going to be Hammers Esports taking the first place. Congratulations to them. A great series, a great 5 games, and I'm very happy that we actually got to get all the way up to game number 5, where we saw some weird compositions and some weird builds, but I do think Hammers had the advantage in that blind pick phase. But you know, Hammers Velocity did not have an easy path here. Of course, Excrucio, that was not an easy series for them. They had to take out TSM up to this point, but congratulations to them. I wish I had like congratulatory music going on right now.
Some epic music going. Yeah, no, definitely well deserved out of Velocity. They definitely fought their way through this whole tournament, and I mean, took the win in the finals, and they still had to fight for it here. Excrucio put up a fantastic fight, but unfortunately in this last match here, I think they just got outpicked. I mean, it's kind of rough and blind, and that chase potential that Velocity had with their comp, with Veins on that Taka as the support in Dienzio, they could just turret dive like crazy and get kills onto Joseph and Old School, like before they could really even react to it. So yeah, fantastic comp coming out of them, and fantastic play for this last game here. Congratulations to Velocity, and definitely excited to see more of Excrucio in the future. They are a strong team, and they have great synergy. I was very impressed by their play today.
Absolutely there. Congratulations to all teams, and thank you to all teams for joining us. We did start with 32, and we are down to 1. Third place got taken from by TSM. Second place goes over to Excrucio, and our grand champions of the first North American Vainglory Master Series will go over to Hammers Esports. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you to Tasty Bacon for joining us on the casting desk.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I want to give a special thank you to not only Chalupa Batman GG for running the stream on Twitch, also K.C. of course running the stream over on Mob Crush, but another thank you for me goes to everyone involved behind the scenes for Vainglory Master Series. I mean, I know how difficult it is to run tournaments, and to put on a show of this scale with an independent organization is no easy feat. So a huge thank you and shout out to Sneaky Boy, Jason, Zivex, and of course to also Legends of Seven for helping to keep everything running smoothly for the streamers and casters throughout the entire event.
Absolutely there, guys. Make sure to keep an eye out for us. Follow us at VMS_NA to see when we're going to be throwing our next tournament. You guys have not seen the last of us yet, but from all of us and the entire production team, thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. This is Chalupa Batman GG and K.C. signing off.
All right.
And once again, congratulations to Hammers Esports.
And thank you, the viewers, for watching. Appreciate it.